More or less the same team as we had last year. So include a faculty member and a program coordinator, as well as one graduate student that actually got recently a CHR scholarship to actually be part of this panel. So Dr. Mike Gold is going to basically be giving the talk this morning. So Dr. Gold is basically the head of our department, is a professor in immunology. Dr. Tom Beatty is professor in microbiology. I'm an associate professor in virology, and then we have Kelsey, who's the grant coordinator, and again, Kristen Lay. So Mike's going to start and give you a few comments about what is it about graduate studies, especially here at UBC, and more particularly in our departments. Then he's going to get into the process of applying to scholarship, covering mostly CHR and UNSERC, and this is where Tom and myself actually have quite a bit of expertise for being involved in the process, or actually reviewing for those scholarships for a number of years as part of the panel members. And then we're going to open it up to answer questions, periods, where basically I really encourage you to ask questions, because this is a fairly unique opportunity that you're going to get to really clarify a very specific issue about the scholarship application process. Okay, Mike? Here we go.
Thanks, Francois. So welcome, those of you who made long trips to Vancouver. I know we have some international students. I know we have some people who have traveled from their childhood home, probably. Your own bedroom, right? And all the way here. How many people have come from outside Canada? They're the ones partying. I see. Right? And then many of you, I guess, are interested in graduate school. Is that right? You're in the right place then. How many of you are already committed to going to graduate school? You've already applied and been accepted, so a few of you. And then the rest of you are thinking about it, perhaps. Okay, so this is you, and this is me. And I'll put these slides, like in our classes, we'll put on the Rising Stars Research website, so you don't take so many notes, and that'll be good. So we'll talk about going to graduate school a bit, and I'll give you a little background about myself and my own scientific career and the sort of ways it's gone. Maybe it'll be interesting to you. Feel free to ask questions. So when I decided I would not likely have a career as a Major League Baseball player, I went to college, and I started out in the physics department. And I really liked numbers because I liked calculating baseball averages, but then I realized I wasn't all that interested in physics, actually, because I thought in physics, for me, I found it hard to really grasp, and I really became a biologist. So I did an undergraduate research program where my goal was to purify some viruses, soybean mosaic virus, and then to raise antibodies to them. So we were injecting them into rabbits and trying to make antibodies. So I got really interested in immunology, how our body protects us against diseases. So I went to be a graduate student at the University of California at Berkeley. This is the Campanile at Berkeley. It's a copy of the original one. The original one is, where would the original one be? Yeah? No, it's in Venice. Wow, you're not supposed to win, Tom. Okay. No one else did. Okay. And so I worked on how cells in the immune system recognize bacteria. And then if you're on the academic track and you want to become a professor, usually after graduate school, you want to do a postdoctoral research. So I moved across the bay from Berkeley to work in San Francisco. And I was up here on the 15th floor of the Health Science Tower during the big 1989 earthquakes. Very exciting. And I worked for a really good guy who inspired me. He not only was a good scientist, I thought he was a really good person, very ethical and interested in communicating science to the public. And he really inspired me to go on to be a scientist. We worked on these cells that make antibodies and how they go from a little cell to basically an antibody factory. And then after that, I started up my own lab here at UBC. And we studied how B cells detect changes in their environment, determine when they're going to make antibodies. In addition to biochemistry, we started using lots of fancy microscopy. And this is a picture from one of my students took. And then we got interested in how B cells move around. It's kind of an interesting problem. But unlike your heart or kidney cells, they're not all localized in one place. They travel around the body. So we were interested in how they move. And this is a nice picture of a B cell moving. And then we were thinking, well, cells moving, there's actually some important problems we can deal with. And one of those is how tumor cells move. So sometimes when you get a tumor somewhere, that's really not what kills a person. But it's when the tumor cell goes through the blood and travels to some critical organ and forms a secondary tumor, metastasis. That's what kills people. And we thought that a lot of the same principles might apply about how cells move, and that's what we've been studying now. So in my career, I've sort of gone from being a physicist, a short-term virologist, an innate immune person, an immunologist, and now a cell biologist and a tumor biologist. So I think the nice thing about an academic career is that you get to follow whatever path is interesting, and you learn new things all the time. So in terms of why I want to go to grad school and why you might want to go to grad school, is you get to hang out with lots of famous scientists. A very small one here under the microscope, actually very large. Okay. You can do cutting edge research. This is the kind of microscopy we do now. And what you will do, and it's a lot of fun, is to spend very late nights in the lab. You know, I don't think it's a requirement anymore. When I was a grad student, we had a requirement that you had to spend an entire night in a cold room sort of watching columns drip. I don't think we have that anymore. Okay, and you drink lots of coffee. Okay, so whoever has had their coffee this morning. And you can go to scientific meetings, and that's a lot of fun as well. Hang out with your colleagues with similar interests. Okay, but really, I think it's a nice job where you learn something every day. And for me, it's the kind of job where I don't have to wear a suit. So it's really good for me. And you'll acquire lots of different skills. So it's not just, I mean, you'll do science and you'll create new findings and new information, but you can learn a lot of other skills. That'll be technical skills, intellectual skills, communication skills that can prepare you for anything. So grad school is not just a route just to becoming an academic professor. It can prepare you for lots of other types of jobs, which we'll talk about. And I think just a discovery. I think if you're someone who's interested in learning new things and discovering things, then grad school is the place where you want to be. And I think if you want to do things that can make an impact, you know, that you understand basic biological processes, but things that also affect health and quality of life, the environment, the economy, and really make a very positive contribution in many ways. So the kind of careers that graduate school could prepare you for is you could be an academic like us, you could work in industry or government. So this talk was aimed mostly at biologists, but it applies to people in other areas as well. So if you're a scientist, you could be a group leader or part of a research team. You could be involved in teaching and training. So as a university professor, this is an important part of our job and a very rewarding part. You might be involved in business, finance, administration, university, government, enterprises. So having a knowledge of science positions you to be someone who has specific knowledge about how to deal with the economics of science. People from our programs go into law because there's certainly lots of issues about bioethics, patent law, communications, or maybe kind of going to journalism, public relations, and policy making. We would like it if our government ministers understood more about science when they make their decisions. Or advocacy groups. So we do a lot of work with various advocacy groups. So a bunch of us from the department recently did a charity bicycle ride for the Multiple Sclerosis Society. We did a long ride in the rain. We got poured on. But we need people there who are scientists who can deal with people, who can convey what scientists are learning about multiple sclerosis to the patients and the advocate groups. And in turn, the advocate groups need people who understand science to work with science and the government. So if you're thinking about grad school, so I'm sort of hindsight about how I should have done it, who would I work with and how would I figure out where to go to grad school? So I think you have to figure out what you find the most interesting and where there's important unanswered questions. You know, one thing I like to say to my immunology students that's good is they're often second-year students, is as second-year students, you can come up with a question that we don't know the answer to. And isn't that cool? That's not really the same in every field. But if you can come up with all these unanswered questions that maybe you could answer, I think that would be a good way to start. And who has the best ideas for addressing this? So where would you look? So there's lots of different journals you can read in. So lots of times in the different fields,